And we are back with the fifth and the final segment on the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fifth segment, I'm going to be talking about Stephon Marbury dismissing the GOAT debate between MJ and LeBron by sharing a surprising stats comparison. Now, as I've said before on the previous segment, the GOAT debate is something that's just going to be endless. No matter what I say and no matter what other people say, your opinions just aren't going to be your opinions just aren't going to matter. Like, it doesn't matter what I say, like, you're immediately going to think that if you think one person is the GOAT, then you obviously think that one person is going to be the GOAT and stay the GOAT. Like, no matter what I say, no matter what I tell a Jordan fan, he's always going to think Michael Jordan is the GOAT. No matter what I tell a LeBron fan, the LeBron fan is also going to think LeBron is the GOAT. Like, there's just nothing that I can do. There's nothing that, I can say, and there's nothing that can be said to change your opinion. And so it's like, that's usually why I don't really like talking about GOAT debates, and that's usually why I don't, do these GOAT debates, because they end up going nowhere. Regardless of what I say, your opinion isn't going to change. Regardless of what you say, my opinion isn't going to change. And, you're just going in circles at that point. And it's like, why do you even need to go in circles? And honestly, my opinion on the GOAT debate is, it's simple. If you like Jordan, you like Jordan, and you just can't accept change. If you like LeBron, you can accept change, but you also have to understand that you got to respect Michael Jordan and the rest of the athletes that came before LeBron. But, obviously those two do not interlude and they do not intermingle nearly as much as they should. But aside from that, Stephon Marbury, a former player in the NBA, he had some thoughts on the ongoing GOAT debate, and it was over who deserved the GOAT title. This was, his thought process. Recently, a stat comparison went viral featuring James's supremacy in dominating in his early career over Michael Jordan. However, Stephon Marbury has decided to weigh in with a surprising comparison that could end the discussion once and for all. He shared a compelling stat highlighting Michael Jordan's stunning achievements during his time with the Chicago Bulls, captioning, "Shouldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as MJ." And basically, the graphic that got pulled up was when, from 1987, from 1986 all the way up to 1998, Michael Jordan has been in, relative, average of 30 points per game. In 87, he averaged 37. In 88, he averaged 35. In 89, he averaged 32, so on and so forth. We know Michael Jordan's greatness. He averages 30 in almost every season. And the stat comparison, again, it featured Jordan's dominance, with the basketball legend securing 10 scoring titles throughout his career. Each season listed in the stat revealed Jordan's scoring averaging ranging from 28 points per game to 37 points per game in 86 and 87. While James has had an extraordinary career filled with NBA titles and numerous accolades, Marbury's focus was on Jordan's unmatched scoring prowess. In this aspect, Jordan simply stands alone. And Stephon Marbury also had claims that LeBron James' Olympic MVP was a mistake, and he believed that Steph Curry deserved the honor instead. But you see, usually whenever conversations they go into this, like something like this is immediately where I say hater alert. Like, it's that simple. This is immediately where I say hater alert, hater alert, hater alert, because I'm sorry to say there's huge reasons, and there's like so many different things that you're not even thinking about when you're just looking at the graphic. For one, yes, he was a scoring demon, he was a scoring monster, but there was nobody in the NBA that was even close to his level of talent, compared to how in the NBA there were so many other players that were closer to LeBron's level of talent compared to players being closer to MJ's level of talent. And LeBron is incredibly talented. Like, you cannot tell me that if you were to put LeBron in this little time period, he wouldn't do the same thing. Like, it's just unfair for both of them, actually. Like, for both of that stat, it's really unfair because, like, if you look at, obviously, yes, MJ, he was far above every single player, but we have no idea how well he dominated in this era, given how often players like him can hold the ball. But, for LeBron's standpoint, if you put him in this era back then, imagine how many points he would have against everyone else. Like, LeBron weighed more than every single one of the players on the Bad Boy Pistons. I know how we like to use the Bad Boy Pistons to be like, oh, that's the team that needed to help MJ elevate to the next level. Meanwhile, LeBron, he was already at that level, and it was just his team that needed to be at that level. And there's just so much context that gets avoided when doing these kinds of debates. People only look at numbers, they don't look at context, and whenever you do that, I immediately think hater alert, because how could you not look at context when looking at these sorts of things? And I just don't think it's that fair. Yes, the scoring is phenomenal, and it's like, you can't win the game without scoring the ball, yes, but it's everything else that the player can do on the court and everything else that, amounts to that player and what that player can do. I mean, another thing that should also be considered is that back then, there was no such thing as zone defense. Like, players today, they can play zone and they can rotate pretty easily. Back then, you weren't allowed to play zone, meaning that if LeBron were to go up against players that actually played man, I don't think there's a single man in the history that can guard LeBron by himself. Like, just alone. And obviously, back then and back in the day, with how man defense was so dominant, I mean, it makes sense that Michael Jordan was going to just, outplay anyone that's guarding him, because nobody can stop Michael Jordan one-on-one, and the same way that no one can stop LeBron one-on-one. It's just LeBron doesn't get put in nearly the same amount of one-on-one situations because of the fact that there is no zone, and because of the fact that you can legitimately, double team these kinds of players, and you can rotate out to the shooters, therefore making your job a little bit easier when guarding them. Like, it's just, there's so many different context things that are just avoided that I don't really like mentioning them at all. And that's sort of one of the biggest reasons as to why I don't really have these debates. And the fact that it's just the scoring being put here, I don't think that's even fair. And there's also there was also the quote on him believing that Steph Curry should have won the MVP. Like, that is immediately just hater logic right there. I'm sorry, but it's like, Steph Curry only played 2 good games in the Olympics. And you really think that the player that only played the 2 good games is better than the player that played well in all the games? I'm sorry, that just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. It's like, imagine if it was LeBron. Imagine if LeBron only played well in the final games. He wouldn't win the MVP if he only played well in the final games. Like, he'd definitely get the hype, but he wouldn't get the MVP. And that's really, all that I have on this segment. And, it's just the fact that GOAT debate is like, it's only a small part of the GOAT debate. And I can go on and on about those kinds of things, which is insane. But that's all that I have. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. That's all that I have for you today on the show. Again, remember to use Super Chat, and remember to use the link if Super Chat isn't your thing. We are so grateful for every one of us and every one of you guys who joins here to support. It really makes all the difference. So again, let's keep the conversation going for the future, and be sure to use the link in the description. Be sure to use Super Chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go.